There are movies you watch once and forget, and then there are movies that quietly follow you for the rest of your life. The Shawshank Redemption is one of those stories, not because it is loud, not because it tries to teach you something, but because somewhere in its quiet moments, it mirrors something deeply human. A man sitting in a prison yard, years passing without warning, hope fading, then returning again. Sometimes I wonder why this story resonates with so many people. Maybe it's because Shawshank isn't really about prison. It's about life, about invisible walls, about the quiet struggle of being human in a world that often feels unfair. And maybe that's why people return to it again and again, not for entertainment, but for understanding. If you watch Shawshank carefully, you begin to notice something. Hidden beneath the story are simple truths. Truths that are uncomfortable, truths that feel familiar, truths that quietly echo through our own lives. Tonight, I want to reflect on 6 of those truths, 6 lessons that the Shawshank Redemption reveals about life, not as rules, not as advice, but as reflections. Because sometimes the most powerful wisdom doesn't tell us what to do, it simply helps us see ourselves more clearly. 1. Accepting reality is the first step to freedom. One of the most powerful moments in Shawshank happens very early in the film. Andy Dufresne arrives at the prison, a quiet banker, wrongfully convicted, surrounded by men who already understand something he doesn't yet know. Life has changed forever. At first, Andy appears distant, almost calm, but the truth is clear. He is entering a reality he never imagined. And Shawshank does something interesting. It forces every man inside those walls to confront a painful question. Can you accept the life you are living? Many prisoners cannot. They fight the reality of their situation for years. Some break. Some disappear emotionally. Some lose themselves entirely. But Andy does something different. He doesn't pretend Shawshank isn't real. He doesn't deny where he is. Instead, he slowly learns to live inside that reality. And this is something many people misunderstand about strength. Strength is not denying hardship. Strength is learning how to live with it. Think about our own lives for a moment. How often do we resist reality? A job we hate, a relationship that quietly faded, a dream that didn't happen the way we hoped. We spend months, sometimes years, fighting what already is. But Shawshank quietly reminds us of something simple. Freedom begins the moment we stop pretending life is different than it is. Acceptance isn't surrender. Acceptance is clarity. It is the moment you stop wasting energy on denial and begin using that energy to move forward. Andy accepted Shawshank, and ironically, that acceptance became the beginning of his escape. 2. A man of conviction does not bow to fate. One of the most famous lines in the film comes from Andy himself: "Get busy living or get busy dying." It's a simple sentence, but behind it lies something powerful. Most prisoners inside Shawshank believe their lives are over. They move through the days like shadows, waiting, existing, surviving. But Andy refuses to accept that his life ended when the prison doors closed. He reads, he studies, he helps other prisoners with taxes, he builds a library. He reshapes the world around him in small ways. And that quiet determination changes something, not just for him, but for everyone around him. His friend Red once said something important about prison. Prison is a strange place. At first, you hate the walls. Then you get used to them. After long enough, you depend on them. This idea is called institutionalization. But if we look honestly, it happens outside prison too. People become institutionalized in life, in routines, in comfort zones, in safe choices that slowly become cages. Andy refused to accept that. He chose to keep living, even when it seemed pointless, even when nobody believed escape was possible. And this reveals something about conviction. Conviction is not loud. Conviction is quiet persistence. It is the ability to keep building something meaningful, even when the world offers no guarantee of success. The truth is, life will often place us inside invisible prisons, jobs that limit us, expectations that define us, fears that hold us back. And the question becomes the same one Andy faced. Will you accept the walls, or will you quietly begin building your way beyond them? 3. Mastering rare skills gives you power. One of the reasons Andy survives Shawshank is surprisingly simple. He knows things other people do not. Andy is a banker. He understands finance, taxes, investments. These skills are rare inside prison, and because of that, they give him value. At first, the guards exploit his knowledge, but slowly something changes. His skills begin to reshape his position inside Shawshank. He becomes useful, respected, even protected. And this is something the film subtly teaches us. In life, rare skills create freedom, not immediately, but eventually. The world rewards people who understand things that others do not. Andy did not overpower the prison. He did not fight it physically. Instead, he made himself valuable. And that value created opportunities. The same principle exists outside prison walls. Look at people who shape the world. Scientists, inventors, artists, entrepreneurs. What do they all have in common? They mastered something rare, and through that mastery, they gained influence over their lives. But here is the deeper insight. Skills are not just tools, they are leverage. The more you understand, the more options life gives you. Andy spent nearly 2 decades quietly digging his way to freedom. But during those years, he was also building something else: trust, influence, opportunity. And when the moment finally came, he was ready, because he had prepared long before the opportunity appeared. 4. Long-term thinking changes everything. One of the most astonishing revelations in The Shawshank Redemption happens near the end of the story. For years, Andy had been digging a tunnel through the prison wall. Not for days, not for months, but for nearly 20 years. When Red finally realizes this, his reaction mirrors what many of us feel when hearing that detail: disbelief. 20 years is almost unimaginable. Most people struggle to stay committed to something for 20 days, yet Andy quietly chipped away at the wall, night after night, one small scrape at a time. And what makes this even more fascinating is that nobody noticed. Not the guards, not the prisoners, not even his closest friend, because the progress was invisible. This is the power of long-term thinking. In our modern world, we are conditioned to expect quick results, quick success, quick change, quick rewards. But the deepest transformations in life rarely happen quickly. They happen quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. Think about the tunnel Andy built. Each night the progress was tiny, almost meaningless. But over the course of 20 years, that tiny progress became freedom. This lesson goes far beyond Shawshank. In life, the most powerful forces are often invisible. Daily habits, small improvements, consistent effort. A person who reads 10 pages a day may not notice change immediately, but in 5 years, that person will have read hundreds of books. A person who improves one small skill every day may not see progress today, but in 10 years, they become extraordinary. Andy's escape was not a miracle. It was patience. It was discipline. It was vision stretched across decades. And maybe the deeper question Shawshank asks us is this: what walls could we break through if we simply stayed committed long enough? 5. Your comfort zone can become your prison. One of the most heartbreaking characters in the film is Brooks. Brooks had spent most of his life inside Shawshank. The prison had become his world, his routine, his identity. When Brooks is finally released, something strange happens. Instead of feeling freedom, he feels fear. Outside the prison walls, everything feels unfamiliar. The world moves too fast. The streets feel overwhelming. And eventually, Brooks cannot adapt. He writes a letter to his friends in prison explaining something deeply tragic. "I'm not sure I belong out there anymore." That moment in the film is devastating, because Brooks wasn't really afraid of the world. He was afraid of the unknown. And if we look honestly at our own lives, many of us understand that feeling. Comfort can slowly become a cage, a job we've outgrown, a life we stopped questioning, a routine that feels safe but slowly drains our spirit. It's easy to believe we are free, but sometimes freedom requires something terrifying: change. The irony of Shawshank is this: some men inside the prison walls were freer than people outside them. Andy never allowed Shawshank to define him. Even after 20 years, he still believed life existed beyond those walls. And this lesson is painfully relevant to our own lives, because many people spend decades inside invisible prisons, not built with concrete, but built with fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of starting again. The comfort zone feels safe, but safety can quietly steal a lifetime. And Shawshank gently reminds us of something important. Freedom is not comfort. Freedom is possibility.
6. Hope is the most dangerous and powerful force in life. Perhaps the most famous theme in The Shawshank Redemption is hope. At one point in the film, Red tells Andy something very important. Hope is a dangerous thing. From Red's perspective, hope is painful. Hope can break a man's spirit. Hope reminds prisoners of a life they may never return to. So many inmates eventually abandon hope entirely. It is easier that way, easier to survive, easier to accept the walls. But Andy believes something very different. He once tells Red, "Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things." And that line captures the entire philosophy of the story. Hope can hurt. Hope can disappoint. Hope can break your heart. But without hope, nothing ever changes. Hope is what keeps Andy digging the tunnel. Hope is what keeps him reading books. Hope is what drives him to build a library. Hope is what convinces him that life beyond Shawshank still exists. Hope is fragile, but it is also unstoppable. Throughout history, hope has been the quiet force behind every great transformation. It is what pushes people to rebuild after disaster. It is what drives explorers to unknown lands. It is what convinces ordinary individuals to believe their life can be different. Hope does not guarantee success, but without it, success is impossible. And maybe that is the real message of Shawshank. Hope alone cannot break prison walls, but hope gives you the strength to start digging. The quiet truth about life. When the story finally reaches its end, Red finds himself standing on a beach. The ocean stretches endlessly in front of him. For the first time in decades, he is truly free. And in that moment, Shawshank reveals its final truth. Life will place walls around you, some visible, some invisible, some built by circumstances, some built by fear. But within every life exists a quiet choice: to accept the walls, or to begin digging. Maybe not dramatically, maybe not loudly, but patiently, consistently. Hope, skill, patience, courage. These are the tools Andy used to escape Shawshank. And strangely enough, they are the same tools that shape every meaningful life. Because the real prison is not made of stone, it is made of resignation. The moment we stop believing change is possible, the walls become permanent. But if we keep moving, even slowly, even quietly, something extraordinary can happen. One day, you look back and realize the wall behind you has disappeared, and suddenly, there is only open sky.